Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today we're embarking on a truly delicious journey. It's one that might just tickle your taste buds and challenge everything you thought you knew about one of the world's most vibrant cuisines. For this deep dive, we've gathered a fascinating collection of insights, primarily from the culinary history of Bengal. And our mission is, it's simple. Unearth the untold stories behind Bengali food, uncover some surprising cultural influences, and reveal maybe a few aha moments that might just make you gasp.
That's right. And we're not just talking about recipes here. We're looking at the very evolution of a cuisine, how it adapted, what it absorbed, and crucially, what incredible things were completely missing from the ancient Bengali plate that are now, absolute staples. Get ready to be surprised by what wasn't there.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start right at the very beginning. When we talk foundation, Bengali cuisine, we have to mention the Ganges Delta, that incredibly rich soil. So what was the undisputed core?
Rice, without a shadow of a doubt. And lots of it, in many forms. Not just, boiled rice, shado pot, but also puffed rice, muri, flattened rice, shire, and even various sweets like pith and puli made from rice flour.
Right. And alongside rice, naturally
Absolute-
comes.
Fish. Definitely fish. Ancient literature, it mentions a real bounty, ilish or hilsa, rui, which is rohu, bata, tangra, chingri prawns, plus lots of smaller river fish too.
Okay, so rice and fish. Given those core ingredients, how would you describe the cooking style back then? Was it like intricate or more straightforward?
Oh, not complex at all. Really quite simple. Think fried fish, maybe a light gravy, usually made with mustard oil, mustard paste, black pepper, and ginger. Turmeric was definitely used too. But here's where it gets really interesting, the truly surprising part. Chilies were completely absent.
Wow, no chilies. That's fundamental. A huge difference from today. So where did the heat come from then?
Primarily black pepper. And mustard, ginger too, these gave that sort of pungent warmth.
Okay. And vegetables. What was
Yeah.
growing in those ancient gardens?
Oh, a fantastic array. Lots of green spinach varieties like pui, palong, kolmi, noteshak, gourds tu lao, that's bottle gourd, and kumaro or pumpkin, ginge, potol, begun, which is eggplant, various types of taro, kachu, and yam, ol. And for sourness, they'd use tamarind, tettle, raw mangoes, kancha and shalta.
That's fascinating. So, okay, no chilies. What about sweets then? Were the big ones like sandesh and rosagola around back then?
And that's what's truly astonishing now. Those iconic sweets, they were nowhere to be found. Sweet dishes back then were mainly made from jaggery, gur, along with rice, coconut, and sesame, things like puth, moya, and naru. Now, sugar or mishri did exist, but gur was definitely the primary sweetener.
Right, gur. And dals, lentils, were they common?
Yes, by the 12th century, several types were definitely common. Mung dal, though, was usually kept for special occasions, auspicious ceremony.
Okay, so for special times, what about everyday meals?
That would be masoor dal. Collar dal, chickpea lentil, was also eaten, often with luchis, and arfa dal, pigeon pea, that actually arrived from South India. It became popular as a sour dal, often cooked with raw mango.
Interesting. Was it like a thick, hearty dal, the kind we sometimes see today?
No, quite the opposite, actually, and that's a very unique characteristic. Bengali dal was traditionally made quite thin, very liquidy.
Thin. Why thin?
Well, it made it easier to mix with rice, you see, to sort of meld into it.
Ah, okay. So if I could, time travel to a typical 12th century Bengali meal, I'd probably find rice, this thin dal, maybe some stir-fried greens or a simple vegetable dish like bottle gourd,
Exactly.
maybe some fried small river fish or a light fish gravy, and on special days, perhaps alish or rui.
Precisely that. And to finish, a gur-based sweet, a pither or a moya.
So this core structure,
Yeah.
rice, fish, dal, veg, gur sweets, this was established centuries ago. The foundation long before all the later influences came in.
That's the bedrock, yes.
Okay, but now, let's talk about what wasn't on that 12th century table, because this is where it gets, incredibly revealing. It might just change how you think about Bengali food forever.
Oh, the list of absences is quite long, and yes, truly surprising.
First up, and this was a genuine shocker for many, I think, potatoes. No potatoes.
No.
I mean, today, you can't imagine Bengali food from a simple shukto to a rich biryani without them.
Absolutely not. Potatoes only arrived much, much later. 16th century with the Portuguese.
Which means, of course, no chilies either, as you
Mhm.
said. So none of those fiery red curries we know.
Correct. The heat profile was entirely different. Relied on black pepper, mustard, ginger, a stark contrast, really.
And other common vegetables like tomatoes, cauliflower, Cabbage?
Nope. No tomatoes, no cauliflower, no cabbage, no papaya, pineapple, guava, or even cashews. These were all later imports. They completely reshaped the vegetable landscape over time.
That's already mind-blowing. Potatoes, chilies, tomatoes, cauliflower, cabbage. Wow. But there's an even bigger surprise, isn't there? Something even more fundamental.
You've hit it. And this is perhaps the most incredible absence, and the reason behind it is even stranger.
Go on.
Chhana, curdled milk, the very ingredient that forms the basis of just about every iconic Bengali sweet we know today.
Chhana. Absent. But why? That seems impossible.
The reason is deeply cultural, historical. Curdling milk, you see, was considered a shastriya,
A shastriya, meaning,
inauspicious, even unholy in a way. There was a taboo against deliberately curdling milk.
so that means the glorious sandesh, rosagola, chomchom, panchua, none of them existed in ancient Bengal.
Not a single one. Sweet dishes were, like we said, made with gur, rice, coconut, sesame. That's it. It's an unbelievable fact when you think about how central chana sweets are to Bengali identity today, isn't it?
Utterly unbelievable, just staggering. Okay, what about meat and eggs? Were they part of the traditional Hindu Bengali diet back then?
Generally, no. Chicken and eggs were considered brato or impure. The main sources of animal protein were fish, of course, and then goat, sheep, buffalo. Occasionally hunted game too, like deer or birds.
So the picture of ancient Bengali food is just dramatically different from what we consider quintessential Bengali cuisine today. It's a story of massive transformation.
It really is. And maybe that's the real magic of Bengali cooking, you know? All these new foreign ingredients, potatoes, chilies, tomatoes, chanas, even chicken. They weren't just adopted. They were embraced so completely, so thoroughly, that it's now impossible to imagine Bengali cuisine without them. They became Bengali.
That extraordinary adaptability, it raises a really interesting question, doesn't it? Is there even such a thing as truly authentic food? Or is it all just this ongoing evolution, constantly shaped by time and circumstance? Okay, so that was ancient Bengal. Let's move forward in time. From around the 13th century onwards, we see Turkic rule, followed by the Mughals.
Yeah.
How did their arrival start to reshape this culinary landscape?
Oh, their influence was profound. It brought a whole new level of, let's say, richness and complexity. With the Turks came things like kebab, skewered meats, kofta or meatballs, and halim.
Okay, kebab, kofta. And during the Mughal era, did it get even more refined?
Absolutely. Even more so. Dishes like korma, that rich, creamy curry, risala, biryani, chapam, these were introduced then. And the cooking style itself changed quite dramatically. Much more use of ghee, clarified butter, saffron, rosewater, various garam masalas, those complex aromatic spice blends, nuts, raisins. Cities like Dhaka, Murshidabad, and later Kolkata became major hubs for these refined Muslim culinary traditions.
Right. But the acceptance of meat, it wasn't just driven by the rulers, was it? I understand religious practices also played a part in making it more socially recognized, especially goat meat.
Precisely. That's a key point. For instance, while buffalo sacrifice during Durga Puja is mostly symbolic these days, goat sacrifice, patha boli, is still practiced during Kali Puja. This really elevated goat meat, pathar mangsho, giving it the status of a proper celebratory dish, particularly among Hindus.
So pathar mangsho became the go-to for big occasions, weddings, Sunday lunches. So it became a real symbol of prestige.
Exactly, a symbol of festivity, celebration, and social standing.
Now, what about eggs and chicken? They were considered impure earlier. When did they finally break into the mainstream Bengali diet?
Well, duck eggs were always fairly common, especially in villages. But chicken eggs, they weren't widely accepted in, say, urban Hindu society until well into the 19th century. The shift started happening partly thanks to the British-era dakbungalows, those rest houses and railway dining cars.
Because caste rules were a bit looser there.
Yes, largely. People mingled more freely. The Kolkata egg roll we know today, for instance, that's a much later invention, a street food phenomenon. Chicken meat also took a while to become common. Dishes with names like dak bungalow curry and railway chicken curry actually helped popularize it. So while goat remained the king for festivals, chicken sort of found its place in everyday cooking. It was just more accessible, more affordable for many.
And then the Portuguese. They came mainly for trade, but they left this huge culinary footprint, didn't they?
Absolutely huge. We already mentioned potatoes, tomatoes, chilies. They also brought papaya, pineapple, cashews, guava, and chilies in particular just took over. They became almost indispensable in Bengali cooking, completely changing the flavor profile.
But surely the single biggest, most revolutionary contribution from the Portuguese has to be chhana, right? That feels like the real game changer.
I absolutely believe so, yes. It was truly epoch-making, revolutionary. They didn't just teach the technique of making chhana, of curdling the milk. Perhaps more importantly, they helped break that centuries-old taboo, that ashastriya notion we talked about.
And that opened the floodgates for
A whole new universe of Bengali sweets, everything based on chhana.
a fandesh, rosagola, chom chom, panchua,
Mhm.
khirmohan.
Exactly. An entire world of iconic sweets was suddenly possible, born from that one change. It was, without doubt, a massive culinary milestone. It redefined Bengali identity through its confectionery.
And this chhana revolution that directly led to the boon of Kolkata's famous sweet shops in the 19th century, didn't it? Pim Chandra Nag around 1826.
Yes, precisely. Innovators like Bhim Chandra Nag, his shop supposedly created the famous Lady Canning sweet. Then you had Girish Chandra Day and Nakur Chandra Nandi in 1844, renowned for their soft sandesh, and later Nabin Chandra Das of Bag Bazaar.
Ah, Nabin Chandra Das, the inventor of the sponge rosagola, around 1868.
The very one. A sweet that's now famous worldwide. These shops did something really significant. They didn't just bring sweets out of the home kitchen, they made them accessible to everyone. Gifting sweets became a huge social custom.
A symbol of love, respect, celebration.
Exactly. These places weren't just businesses, they became cultural institutions, cultural hubs.
Of course, the sponge rosagola. We should probably mention just briefly, there's that long-standing geographical indication tag dispute with Odisha over its origin. We won't get into it today, but just acknowledge it exists.
Absolutely, a point worth noting. And it wasn't just Kolkata. Beyond the capital, different districts in Bengal developed their own fantastic, unique sweet traditions.
Right, like Bardaman, Siddhapog, and Mihidana, Shaktigar's Langcha, Krishnanagar's Shorbhaja, and Sorpuria, Murshidabad's Chanabara, Natora's Kachagola. And in winter, you absolutely have to mention the Nolan Gur Moya of Joynagar. Date palm jaggery sweets. That now has a GI tag, too. This incredible regional diversity, that's the real strength and beauty of Bengali sweets.
Okay, let's pivot to another fascinating influence. 1856, Nawab Wajid Ali Shah, the last Nawab of Awadh, is exiled to Calcutta.
Yes, to Medidruz, on the
Yep.
outskirts. And he didn't just arrive alone. He brought his huge retinue, the whole culture of Lucknow, the music, the poetry, and of course, the legendary Awadhi cuisine.
And from this exile, Kolkata gets its very own unique version of biryani, the Kolkata biryani.
Indeed. Whose defining characteristic is, somewhat amusingly,
The potato, always the potato.
yes. That's the really interesting part of the story. Traditional Lucknowi Nawabi biryani didn't usually have potatoes, but the story goes that in Metia brews, maybe to stretch the meat further, maybe to cut costs or just increase portion size, the cooks started adding potatoes along with the meat.
So what started perhaps as a necessity became its absolute signature. Precisely.
Mm.
Now, you simply cannot imagine Kolkata biryani without that soft, fragrant, often saffron-tinged potato nestled in there. It's a wonderful example of culinary serendipity.
Truly amazing. And it wasn't just biryani, right? Risala and chop are also gifts from that Awadhi influence.
That's right. Risala, with its distinctive whitish gravy made from yogurt, cardamom, maybe poppy seed or cashew paste, very delicate, and chop, typically ribs or breast meat, marinated in ghee and spices, then slow-cooked on a flat griddle, a tawa. Today's famous Kolkata restaurants like Siraj, Royal, Aminia, they carry on this rich Awadhi legacy.
It's quite something, isn't it? An exiled Nawab arrives and completely transforms a major part of the city's culinary identity.
Such is the magic and sometimes the accidents of history. Now, the British Raj, they also added a couple of very important things to our plates, or rather, cups and plates. Tea and poppy seeds, posto.
Yes, tea, initially just for the sahibs, right?
That's right. Tea was initially seen as very much an English drink. Bengalis didn't pay it much attention at first, until the British started this massive promotion campaign, pushing it as a modern, healthy beverage. Slowly, gradually, it gained acceptance, especially among the Bajralak, the gentry.
And then eventually it trickled down to the street-side bearer cha tea served in those little clay cups.
Exactly. And that baracha became the absolute fuel for Bengali adas, those quintessential informal gatherings and long conversations. Tea and talk, inseparable.
Okay, so tea took a while. What about the story of posto, poppy seeds? That's quite different, isn't it? Tied up with, well, opium.
Yes, the posto story is quite different, and it's deeply linked to colonial economics, unfortunately. The British East India Company cultivated vast amounts of opium poppies in Bengal, particularly in districts like Bardhaman, Bankura, Birbhum. Why? To sell opium in China, a dark trade. So the valuable opium resin went off to China, but what was left behind were huge quantities of poppy seeds, which weren't worth much. They were cheap.
And these cheap leftover seeds found their way into the kitchens of the poor in those specific regions.
Precisely. For people who maybe couldn't afford more expensive spices or even a variety of vegetables, poppy seeds became a primary flavoring agent. They're nutty, they add texture, they thicken sauces. So dishes like aloo posto, potatoes in poppy seed paste, ginge posto, ridge gourd, payaz posto, onion, even poster bora, poppy seed fritters, became the absolute culinary identity of those areas, especially Bankura and Burbum.
Wow. So it's a really powerful example of how these huge geopolitical, economic forces of colonialism directly influence the everyday food of ordinary people, something born from scarcity and circumstance.
A perfect example. And around the same time, those dakbungalows and railway canteens we mentioned earlier, they continued to play a role in breaking down some social barriers, didn't they?
Yes, they definitely help normalize chicken and eggs, chipping away at those older purity taboos.
And just the act of eating together on trains in these somewhat neutral spaces probably loosened some of the rigid caste restrictions around food sharing as well. And it's also in the sort of melting pot environment that foods like the famous kabiraji cutlet were likely born.
Kabiraji.
Yeah.
That's such an intriguing name. Where does it actually come from?
Well, the most likely explanation is that it's a corruption of the English word coverage.
Coverage.
Yes, because the cutlet, usually fish or chicken, is covered in this distinctive, lacy, net-like coating made from beaten egg poured into hot oil. So coverage became kabiroji.
Ah, that makes sense. This era also saw the rise of a specific kind of eatery in Calcutta, the cabin and cafe culture. Places like Pasanta Cabin in College Street, Metro Cafe in North Kolkata.
Oh, yes. These became iconic hangouts, especially for students, clerks, the middle-class Bengali Padrulok, places where you'd find staples like fish fry, Mughlai parota, a rich stuffed paratha cutlet, and of course the kabilaji. They were buzzing hubs.
And then on the other hand, you had the Indian coffee house, maybe more famous for the intense discussions, the adda, than the food itself.
That's right. The coffee house was primarily an intellectual and political hub. The food was secondary to the conversation. And for the elite, the very westernized crowd, there was flurries on Park Street, very much a European-style tea room and patisserie. So you had all these different culinary worlds coexisting in one city.
And this incredibly dynamic period also saw the birth of another amazing culinary fusion, one that spread all over India now. Indian Chinese.
Oh, absolutely. A huge development. Chinese immigrants started arriving in Calcutta from the late 18th century onwards. They initially settled in a place called Achapur, south of the city, then moved into the Toretta Bazaar area, and finally many settled around the tanneries in Tangra.
And there, in Tangra especially, they started adapting their cooking methods and ingredients to local Bengali tastes, didn't they?
Completely. They created this whole new hybrid cuisine. Dishes like chili chicken, Szechuan, anything which isn't really from Sichuan province, Manchurian dishes, Hakka noodles, American chop suey. These aren't strictly authentic Chinese dishes you'd find in China. They are uniquely Kolkatan, uniquely Indian Chinese.
Using more chili, more garlic, more soy sauce, maybe some garam masala sometimes.
Exactly. Tailored perfectly for the Indian, especially the Bengali palate that loves strong flavors.
Yeah.
And Tangra's restaurants became absolute pilgrimage sites for this specific kind of food. It's now arguably India's most popular foreign cuisine. What an extraordinary story of adaptation.
Truly is. And it wasn't just the Chinese who came and contributed to this melting pot, was it?
Certainly not. You had Marwaris and Gujaratis who brought things like chaat, fuchka, the Kolkata version of pani puri, kachuri, stuffed fried bread. Armenians and Jews established famous bakeries. Nahum's is still going strong today, a real institution. Then you had Syrians, Christians, Parsis, Anglo-Indians. Everyone added something to the mix. Kolkata's food scene is vibrant proof that the city truly is a melting pot.
Then came a very difficult chapter. The partition of India in 1947, a deeply sorrowful time. It led to huge population movements, especially between East and West Bengal, and gave rise to this cultural division, often called Gopi versus Bengal.
Yes, a very painful period. And this division, it didn't just affect language and customs, it profoundly impacted cuisine as well. The Bangalos, those who came from East Bengal, now Bangladesh, brought with them their very distinct cooking characteristics.
Which were?
Generally, a preference for more chilies, a more liberal use of pungent mustard oil, a fondness for dried fish, shutki, which wasn't common in West Bengal cooking. And of course, their deep, almost religious love for the hilsa fish, ilish, especially from the Padma River.
Dishes like ilish papa, steamed hilsa, or shorsha ilish, hilsa and mustard gravy. Quintessential Bengal dishes.
Exactly. On the other hand, the Godis, the original inhabitants of West Bengal, their cooking often had a slightly sweeter leaning. Think lighter gravies, more use of coconut, or perhaps poppy seed paste, posto. And they held prawns, chingri, in very high regard.
Leading to classic Godi dishes like chingri malai curry, prawns in coconut milk, or dahab chingri, prawns cooked inside a green coconut.
Precisely. So initially, there might have been some culinary rivalry, maybe even mockery between the two groups.
But over time, has that softened?
Oh, absolutely. Very much so.
Yeah.
Over the decades, these two culinary traditions have blended beautifully. It's not uncommon at all now to find ilish paturi, hilsa steamed in banana leaf, a Bengal favorite, happily cooking alongside chingri malai curry in the same household kitchen. This fusion, born from a tragic history, has only enriched the overall tapestry of Bengali cuisine. It added yet another fascinating layer.
It's incredible how food adapts and absorbs history, even painful history. Now, in this context of different culinary strands, we absolutely must mention something quite unique, Bidhabarana, or widow's cuisine.
Yes, that's a very important and poignant aspect.
Well,
Historically, particularly in upper caste Hindu society, widows faced extremely severe dietary restrictions. It was a very austere life.
right. They couldn't eat heating foods like onion or garlic, definitely no fish, meat, or eggs. Even certain lentils and vegetables were forbidden, weren't they?
Correct. The list of forbidden items was long and varied regionally, but within these incredibly strict limitations, these women created an extraordinary, sophisticated range of vegetarian dishes, purely Uramish, without onion or garlic. Think of dishes like shukto, a complex mixed vegetable dish with a hint of bitterness, various ganto and shochari, mixed vegetable preparations, dalna, vegetables or koftas in a light gravy, mokor ganto, banana flour curry, thoriganto, banana stem curry, using specific combinations of spices like ginger, cumin, coriander, red huni, panchphoron, and techniques like using ghee for flavor. They elevated vegetarian cooking to a real art form.
So it wasn't just about preserving an ancient vegetarian tradition.
No, it was also this incredible demonstration of culinary creativity flourishing even in the face of extreme scarcity and restriction, making delicious, complex food with minimal ingredients. It's a testament to ingenuity.
Amazing. Okay, let's fast forward now to more modern times. Kolkata keeps growing offices, schools, colleges, factories popping up everywhere. The pace of life increases. And with that comes the need for quick, accessible food on the go. This is where street food really takes off, isn't it?
Absolutely. The demand for affordable, easy, and fast food just skyrockets. And if you had to pick one king of Kolkata street food, it's arguably the kathi roll.
Which was invented at Nizam's restaurant, right? That's the legend anyway.
But that is the widely accepted legend. The story goes that busy British customers wanted their kebabs to be less messy to eat on the move. So the cooks started rolling the kebabs up inside a paratha. Easy to hold, easy to eat, standing up. From that very practical beginning, the kathi roll in its many variations, chicken, mutton, egg, paneer, has become world famous, alongside other street-side staples like sheikh kebab and shami kebab.
And then came the egg roll. We touched on it earlier, but that must have played a massive role in finally breaking down any lingering taboos around eating eggs, especially in public.
Definitely. It became ubiquitous. A simple, hot, flaky paratha wrapped around a fried egg, usually with some sliced onions, maybe cucumber, a dash of sauce. It became one of the city's most popular, most democratic street foods. Cheap, filling, tasty.
And for that truly local evening flavor, you can't forget telepaja and fuchka.
Oh, absolutely integral to Bengali evening ada culture. Telepaja, those deep-fried snacks. Allure chop, potato fritters, baguni, eggplant fritters,
Yeah.
fuluri, lentil fritters, peaji, onion fritters, sometimes mochar chop, banana flour croquettes, served piping hot, often with a sprinkle of black salt, maybe some puffed rice, muri on the side. Pure comfort food. And fuchka, the Kolkata version of pani puri or golgappa, but many would argue it's even tannier, even spicier. Those crispy shells filled with mashed potato, chickpeas, tamarind water, green chilies, it's an explosion of flavor.
Street Chinese food also became huge on the streets, didn't it? Not just in Tangra restaurants.
Yes, definitely. Those Tangra staples, chow mein, chili chicken, fried rice, migrated onto street carts and small stalls everywhere. Super popular, especially late at night.
So the street food culture, it really is like a mirror reflecting Kolkata's blended culture, isn't it? Everyone, rich, poor, student, Office workers standing side by side, maybe at the same stall, enjoying the same delicious, affordable food.
It's a great equalizer, a culinary melting pot, right there on the pavement, accessible to absolutely everyone.
So tracing this journey from ancient rice, fish, dal, and vegetables, through the Turkic Mughal influences bringing richness and meat, the Portuguese Revolution with new vegetables, and, crucially, chhana, the British introducing tea and inadvertently posto, the blending of East and West Bengal cuisines after partition, the ingenuity of widows cooking, and finally the explosion of street food. What an incredibly immense, layered, constantly evolving canvas this culinary history is.
It truly is phenomenal. Bengali cuisine is like a complex tapestry. Every single layer, every thread bears the imprint of history, geography, trade routes, religion, migration patterns, economics, even politics. And more than anything, perhaps, it showcases this incredible human capacity for adaptation, for embracing the new, for taking something foreign and making it completely, undeniably your own. It's not just a history of taste, it's really a history of memory, resilience, and identity expressed through food.
What an absolutely incredible deep dive into the heart, the layers, the soul of Bengali food. You've heard how it's been shaped by just so many forces, constantly changing, constantly absorbing, constantly becoming something new yet recognizable itself.
It's a living testament, isn't it, to the idea that food is never static. It's a breathing reflection of its people, their journey, their story.
So as we wrap up this journey for today, we're left with a question for you, our listeners. In this current age of globalization, instant trends, increasing health consciousness, what new layers do you think are being added or are yet to be added to Bengali cuisine? What's the next chapter?
Or perhaps, looking back at everything we've discussed, this incredible diversity, this rich history, is there one single dish, maybe, that you believe best represents this entire complex, amazing culinary journey?
That's a wonderful question to ponder, something for you to think about.
Because the story of Bengali food, like all great stories, is definitely still being written.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep tasting, and definitely keep curious.